back, Short Kings. It's the beginning of the month, and you know what that means. It's time to predict what games are going to be leaving PlayStation Plus Extra next month. February's last chance to play games were all over the place and hard to predict. We only predicted one of them because it was the only one with a 12-month contract. So let's hope things go back to the way they were with their annual contract and the 24-month contract. So with all that said, let's check out the games and do the short version for the short attention span kings. Going back a year to March of 2025, we had Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, Captain Tsubasa, Mobile Suit Gundam Battle Operation Code Fairy, Arcade Paradise, Bang On Balls Chronicles, You Suck at Parking, and Syberia: The World Before. We did get UFC 5, but that was a 6-month game. It's already gone. Now let's jump to March of 2024. Which one of these games are still here? Lego DC Super Villains, Mystic Pillars, and Blood Bowl 3. The other games have already left. Super Neptunia RPG is actually on this month's last chance to play, so it will leave only 2 weeks after this video comes out. Dragon Ball Z Kakarot has already left, and so has Resident Evil 3, Marvel's Midnight Suns, and NBA 2K24. That is the short list of what games are still here from 12 months and 24 months ago. If you just wanted to know the list of the games and are ready to leave the video, just drop a like for the short version, telling YouTube that you prefer when content creators front load all the content. If you're going to stick around, we're going to go through all of these games, tell you what they're all about, show you gameplay, ratings, and also the runtime, because this is a short games channel and we appreciate games that don't waste your time. Let's begin. Okay, right off the bat, the best game on the list is probably Prince of Persia: Lost Crown. It has a Metacritic rating of 86 with a user score of 8.4. Now, this game is from Ubisoft, and it is part of the Ubisoft collection, which means the likelihood of it going after a year is very low. So although I want to include this game just so you get exposed to it, I don't think it's actually going to leave. But I do think that you should give it a try because it has some of the best platforming I've had the privilege to play. Yes, that's right, subscribers. I'm saying something good about a Ubisoft game. And with the recent announcement that they have canceled the Sands of Time remake and closed down the studio, it's a perfect time to revisit the Prince of Persia franchise. I got the Platinum and I highly recommend playing this one. And also just gonna add that the Rogue Prince of Persia is also available on PS Plus. That one's made by the makers of Dead Cells and it's got a bump in soundtrack. It's so good. But we're here to talk about the Lost Crown. While the Rogue Prince is a roguelike, this one is a straight up Metroidvania. You get access to a huge map, but some sections are kind of out of balance. You can't reach them yet. As you progress through the game, you gain new abilities. With these new abilities, you're able to access the places you couldn't before. So there's going to be a lot of backtracking, but it's not that bad because you're going to be way more powerful when you revisit these sections. So a fight that would have taken you a minute before, now you could just one-shot them. The standout feature of this game is the platforming. It has great movement and the combat feels good too. The platforming is going to be challenging. You're going to remember like 5 different abilities and try to use them all at the same time. Some of the puzzles are going to require some serious thinking as well. This is not an easy game, but it is so rewarding when you finally complete a section that you had trouble with. It's not a short game either. It's going to take 16.5 hours to just blast through the main story, or double that time if you want to go for the platinum and get all the collectibles. Go play it to see what you've been missing out on, and again, I don't think it's actually going to leave because it is a Ubisoft title. Let's move on. The next game I want to talk about is Arcade Paradise. It has a rating of 73 with a user score of 6.6, but I think it deserves a little bit better. Now, Arcade Paradise VR already left the service it was on last chance to play for premium, but this one is still here. What can we say about Arcade Paradise? It is a stupidly addictive game that you're going to play for hours and hours and wonder, do I even like this game? Okay, one more round. It seems like a dumb game at first where you do laundry at a laundromat and do some chores, like cleaning, throwing out the garbage, and even clean the toilet. But believe it or not, there's actually a story here. Your business-savvy dad who was never there for you gave you the laundromat to take care of, to see if you've got what it takes or if you're a failure like he thinks. As you slowly build income in the first part of the game with the laundromat, you start to realize that the arcade in the back makes way more money than the laundry machines. So you eventually go against your father's wishes and switch genres to something you're more passionate about. You expand your space as the arcade gets more popular in town, and the story will go through its ups and downs. Surprisingly emotional for a game where you just do laundry. As you make more money, you're going to be able to afford new arcade cabinets until you run out of space, and once you run out of space, you're going to have to expand your arcade. So even though this game is just a bunch of little mini games, you can actually feel the progress. There's something to aim for, and you get a sense of completion every time you play the game. Eventually, you're going to have like 30 arcades to manage. You gotta collect the coins, you gotta fix them when they break down, and you can even play with the difficulty settings of each specific game so it collects more quarters per hour. But this isn't just a management sim, it's an arcade paradise. And what would an arcade paradise be without actual arcades that you can play? Yes, not only can you play each and every single one of these very addictive mini games, but getting high scores and completing achievements in these games will make them more lucrative. So if you set the high score, people are going to be competing trying to dethrone you, which will make the arcade cabinet more popular and way more lucrative. So the game encourages you to play and get good at every single one of these games. And let me tell you, some of these games are addictive. You're going to be playing them for an hour at a time sometimes and ignore your laundry chores, which actually is sort of the premise of the game. If you never got to experience the Atari era, this is going to be so educational for you. You're going to be taken back to a time where graphics did not matter. It was all about how addictive these games can get. We got everything from Bomberman, Asteroids, Missile Command, Pong, Frogger, Space Invaders, Dance Dance Revolution, and my personal favorite game, they somehow mashed Pac-Man with Grand Theft Auto. Each and every single one of these games is so addictive and it's going to suck you in for hours and hours. It's not a short game, it's going to take you 25 hours to beat and almost double that if you want to go for the platinum. Since the VR version already left, I'm going to predict a high chance of probability that this one is going to leave as well next month. And since this game uses high scores to motivate people, I'm going to send out a challenge to you to see if you can beat my high score in Stacked Overflow. I got to level 69 and I had over 10 minutes left on the counter. Bang on balls. I just wanted to say that. This is a high energy, quirky 3D collectathon platformer. It will remind you of Nintendo 64 games like Banjo-Kazooie and Super Mario 64, but a lot more slapstick and immature. I mean, there's a dedicated fart button. I know it looks silly and like a kid's game, but this is one of the highest rated games on this list and PS Plus. It has a critic rating of 86 and a user score of 8.0. It comes from the minds of Exit Plan Games, who are some of the same developers of Cyberpunk and the Witcher series. You play as a fully customizable, bouncy ball-shaped hero named Bob. The game is set in a giant movie studio where different sound stages serve as open world levels. There's 4 different worlds to explore because this is a short game. There's a Viking level, a pirate level, a space race level, and a Japan level. Your goal is to roll, jump, dash, and smash your way through these slightly historically inaccurate time periods to complete missions and collect everything in sight. Almost everything in the environment is fully destructible. Crashing through buildings and objects is a core part of the fun of this game. And I know it's a kid's game, but it feels great and it looks great. Like the water effect, I don't know, it shouldn't be here. There is a ridiculous amount of customization that are just for aesthetics, but also change how you play the game. We got things like hats, shields, and skins, but also the weapons with the dedicated button change your playstyle. There are no paid cosmetic DLCs. Everything you wear is found or earned in-game. Also, this is a multiplayer game. It's highly flexible in how you can play. There's local co-op, 2-player split screen, which is perfect for couch gaming, but also up to 4 players can join the same mission to wreak havoc together online. You'll see real-world players in the online world and you could join their game or they could join yours to help you with a boss or something. The vibe is totally slapstick and focuses on the joy of the movement rather than complex storytelling. It's not hard at all. It is casual and accessible, although some boss fights and hidden puzzles will require a little bit more skill. It is a certified short game with only 3.5 hours to beat the main story. That is if you stick to the main story. There's so many distractions in this game that it's going to take you a little bit longer, especially if you like customizing your character and are a fan of collectathons. So for the platinum, you're looking at closer to 14 hours. You suck at parking? Yeah, you totally suck. With a score of 74 and a user score of 5.6, this game is a chaotic, physics-based racing game. Well, not really racing. The goal isn't to be the fastest driver, it is to be the best parker. You are going at high speeds, but the aim here is precision. It's kind of like a puzzle meets Micro Machines. If you stop anywhere except the designated parking spot, you fail. And the catch is, you can't reverse, you can only go forward. The goal is to navigate a series of increasingly impossible obstacle courses and come to a complete stop inside of the parking space. But the pressure comes from the the ticking clock that you're racing against. And you also have a limited fuel tank. If you overshoot a spot or get stuck, you have to respawn and try it again from the very beginning. As you progress throughout the game, the levels get harder and harder because there's more hazards. We got magnets, fire, teleportation gates, landmines, and even giant punching gloves designed to throw you off the track. The single player campaign features over 100 levels across different biomes. As you progress, you unlock islands as you level up, which introduce new mechanics like ice physics or low gravity. The online multiplayer has up to 8 players on the same track, and it's a mad dash to see who can park in all the spots first while making everyone else crash into each other. Every time you beat a level, the level tracks your time globally in the leaderboards, making it a one more try style game for players who love speedrunning and perfect runs. The more you play the game, the more things you unlock. We got car skins, hats, trail effects. It's very similar to like Rocket League. So it's a very silly game that turns parking, arguably the most boring part of driving, into an extreme sport. It is a really fun game to get into. Just download it and play it for an hour to see if it clicks with you. It takes about 8 hours to beat and 21 hours for the platinum. Syberia: The World Before is the 4th installment in the long-running Syberia adventure series. It received a Metacritic score of 81 with a user score of 8.4. You're gonna like this game if you're a fan of deep mysteries, steampunk visuals, and an emotional story. Even if you've never touched the older games, this is designed to be a fresh start. It's a point-and-click puzzle adventure that feels like stepping into a living, breathing painting. The story is where the game truly shines. It is a dual narrative that jumps between 2 different timelines or eras, one in 1937 and another one in 2004. If you've played games like Life is Strange, you'll feel right at home. There's environmental puzzles here where you'll be interacting with these machines, complex clockwork contraptions that look like steampunk magic, and also it has time-hopping mechanics. We love that. You'll often find a puzzle in Kate's timeline that can only be solved by switching back to Dana's timeline to see how the mechanism originally worked or to leave a clue behind for the future. The world feels antique in a way. Every street corner feels like it has 100 years of history. It's not for everyone, but those who like it really like it. It's not really a short game, but it's pretty close, taking about 14 hours to beat the main story and extra, and 16 hours for the platinum run. Captain Tsubasa: Rise of New Champions is a weird one. It has a Metacritic score of 69 and also a user score of 6.9. At its core, it is an arcade sports game based on the legendary 80s anime and manga series Captain Tsubasa. But it's less of a soccer simulator and more like a fighting game that happens to have a ball. It's colorful, it's loud, it's like anime drama, and it completely ignores the laws of physics. What makes this soccer game special is how it has an RPG-like progression. You aren't just playing matches, you're training. You earn friendship points with other players to learn their signature move. You want to learn that overhead kick you saw? Well, you better hang out with that player. It captures that weird anime feeling where every match feels like a life or death struggle. It's flashy, accessible for people who hate traditional sports games, and rewarding for fans who want to create the ultimate player. Personally, I gave it a try and it is not for me, even though I loved this anime as a kid. As soon as I started the game, there was a lot of red flags. There's like the end user license agreement, the always wanting to be online. It just reeked of life service chores. So it wasn't for me, but maybe it's for you. Personally, I'm going to go back and rewatch the old cartoons and skip this game altogether. It takes about 12 hours to beat and 52 hours for a platinum. Mobile Suit Gundam Battle Operation Code Fairy has a score of 66 with a terrible user score of 4.7. This is a single-player campaign where you're playing through a fully voiced episodic anime story. The story takes back to the 1-year war, but we aren't following the usual heroes. Instead, we're following the Noisy Fairy, a secret all-female unit within the Principality of Zeon. You'll spend as much time in the slice of life moments at the base as you will in the cockpit. If you've played the Gundam games, you know what to expect. If not, here's the deal. So these aren't fast-flying superheroes. Your mobile suit feels like a massive multi-ton machine. Turning is slow, reload takes time, and every shot matters. The game uses sort of like a rock, paper, scissors. Raids beat supports, supports beat generals, and generals beats raids. You'll have to command your AI squad mates to target the right enemy to win. You can tune your suit with parts you earn from the missions, letting you focus on speed, armor, or just raw firepower. It's one of the few Gundam games that treats its female cast as serious soldiers rather than just mascots. It balances the cute girl doing cute things vibe with massive robots blowing each other up in a way that feels surprisingly fresh for the franchise. It takes about 18 hours to finish the main story and about 33 hours for the completionist run. Jumping to March of 2024, we see different games. I'm not going to talk about the Lego game because Lego games hardly leave ever, so that one's probably staying. And also, if you were on PS Plus long enough, this one, DC Supervillains, was a monthly game at some point. So I'm not going to talk about it. Let's move on to the next one. Mystic Pillars is a math puzzle game. It's not for everyone, I'm just going to say that, but I loved it and I played all 100 levels. It got a Metacritic scoring of 74 with a user score of 5.1. I guess people don't like math that much. You're basically moving numbers and you have a limited amount of tries and movements. Sometimes there's more than one way to get it done, but as you get onto the later levels, the solution becomes way less obvious. It's one of those games where you could be on a roll and solve multiple puzzles in a row, like on the first try, and then next thing you know, you get stuck on a 15-second puzzle for 30 minutes. They do attempt to tell a story here, but I would not recommend it. The voice lines are peaking and too loud, and I don't know, the microphone they used or something, but it just did not sound professional at all. Just play this on mute or put a podcast in the background. It is a certified short game, taking only about 2 to 3 hours to beat, but that is a big if, because you will get stuck on some puzzles for 10 to 20 minutes. It's frustrating, but once you figure it out, you'll feel so good and smart. That's the power of math. My main problem with it, aside from the voice lines, was how limited it was. Like, they introduced adding and subtracting in the very beginning, and then they just keep doing that for 100 levels. I was really expecting something more complicated in the later levels. But nope, just 100 levels of adding and subtracting. And the last game, do I even bother talking about it? It is Blood Bowl 3 with a Metacritic rating of 60 and a user score of 2.0. It is a weird mix of turn-based fantasy strategy and sports that require relentless dedication. It has a fantasy theme, sort of like Warhammer setting, and extreme violence and gore. People say it's full of bugs and the competitive mode is full of cheaters and the AI is the worst that you've ever seen in a game. It's not for everybody, but if you like turn-based tactical strategy and American football in a Warhammer-type fantasy universe, you might actually like it. How long to beat stats are kind of like all over the place. Some people say 15 and a half hours, but this is a competitive game, so who knows? This could take hundreds of hours. I wouldn't bother with it personally. So there you have it. Those are all the games from 12 months and 24 months ago that came to PS Plus in March of 2025 and 2024. Are all these games going to leave? No, they're not going to leave, but some of them might. This is just a great series that exposes you to new games on the PS Plus extra catalog that you likely have been ignoring. So if they do end up leaving, congrats, you beat it just in time. But if they don't, hey, you got exposed to a brand new game that you liked. It's a win-win. And speaking of winners, let's talk about channel members. You guys are the true winners in all this because you have access to a spreadsheet that has over 300 games on PS Plus Extra that have a rating over 70. So if you don't want to wait until there's only 1 month left, you can get a head start and browse at your own pace to see which games are rated well and which games are short games. I've done all the research and writing for you. All you have to do is just scroll. Thanks for watching, and until next time, be a friend, and I'll see you again.